Hello, welcome to another Seeker Fight here on my channel. Today we're going to look at Harry Potter and the Deadly Hallows Part 1 versus Part 2. Why am I doing this Seeker Fight? Well, they are a two-parter. And comparing them is a little bit interesting in my opinion because they have, even though one of them stands out for being more action-oriented, the other one are more interesting when it comes to storyline. So anyway, let's topic number one, that is going to be storyline. How does it actually stand out? As I said, when it comes to part 1, it is basically setting up the final battle that is going to happen in second part. They first begin with the wedding part. They are trying to basically, Harry Potter is basically starting to, well, prepare for leaving them. He's not going back to Hogwarts. He is basically trying to find the final Horcruxes, or what is called Horcrux. Can't pronounce it or remember what it's called, but he's trying to find the final ones. I can't remember. I think it's four that is left in this book, if I remember correctly. Maybe, I don't know. I can't remember, but after the wedding, when shit breaks down, the Death Eaters is basically cut up to them, and they are basically leaving to London, and shit breaks down, and now they're trying to find the Horcruxes in a harder way because they are basically moving every day, and they're trying to find out where everything is, and they're moving on and on and on. During this time, a lot of fighting, a lot of nagging is happening. Some fun parts happens, some bad parts, because the storyline doesn't stand out that much, because when you span out a movie into two parts, you need to basically leave what is called puzzle it together in a better way. It's a big book, of course, but it's a weird book to actually split into two parts. Even though it works really well, I don't really like the way that they actually are splitting the books. But anyway, in the end they get caught and they end up in the mansion. Shit happens, they leave, Dobby die, and so on, so on. Part 2, as I said, the big fight, everything ends. That's basically it. You will get some story when it comes to Snape. You will get some backstory about everything else. Some plot points is basically ending. Some death is happening. This a sad movie and a great movie. But which one of these movies is actually winning this topic? I was just rambling here because it's really hard to tell the storyline because, well, it is all over the place. So yeah, top number one's winner are going to be a tie. It is a tie mainly because the first movie sets up everything, and the final movie is basically ending everything. That is what I feel. They fit well together, and none of them basically stands out, even though the final part is the best one in my opinion, one of the best Harry Potter movies. The first part of the Deadly Hallows basically stands out as well as much when it comes to storyline. Effects and environments. Topic number 2, effects and environments. This one as well are going to be a tie. The effects are great in both movies. They doesn't stand out over the other because they were filmed, I think, back to back, so everything were made during the same time, so nothing basically stands out in any of these movies, so in the end it is great in both ones. Topic number 3 are going to be characters. When it comes to characters in this, well, in both movies, there are less in the first movie and more in the second one, because in the second one you're basically trying to end some loose ends and somewhat. In the first one it is basically mostly Harry Potter, Hermione and Ron that is trying to find Horcruxes and trying to move forward and trying to end Voldemort that way. And in the end, I think that is basically a better plot line in my opinion. You are focusing on 3 characters, that is a lot better in my opinion than focusing on a lot more in the second part. So in this topic, the winner is The Hallows Part 1. As I said, because they are focusing on less characters than the second one, because moving forward with the storyline about these 3 characters is more interesting than a lot of more characters that is randomly dead there, or randomly happens something to them, or moving forward with the storyline and so on. So on. It's too much happening sometimes in the second part, but in the first one you're just focusing on, as I said, 3 characters. It's much easier to follow and much more interesting. Topic number 4 are going to be, how do we compare the endings? It's hard to basically have a 4th topic because the villain in both movies are Voldemort, so it isn't that hard. Really that isn't that interesting to basically compare those two, but when we can compare the endings. The endings in both parts, in the first part is just they cut off when Voldemort basically finds the end staff or something like that. I can't remember what it's called. It is the staff or wand, what it's called. That is basically the strongest one that exists. And in the second part, you end with the 19 years later, which is random in my opinion and doesn't fit in the Harry Potter books in my opinion. They could have ended it before that, when they basically looked out in the, I don't know what they looked at, the sky, the road, something like that. They could have ended there, but the 19 years later was okay. It could have been better in my opinion. But in the first part they especially end when Dobby dies. When they escape the mansion. And Voldemort finally the wand. The first part was basically setting up your hype for the second part, but the second part ends both great and bad at the same time because we basically had 2 endings. So yeah. The winner of this topic are going to be a tie. It's hard to choose basically the one that has the best ending because both endings have their flaws and they had the flaws and they had the good parts, but overall they both stands out for being decent in the end. And the ultimate winner are going to be the one that I think is better, part 2. The reason for that is that it had more action, it had better characters, it has an ending basically. Even though the ending is similar, decent in both ones, and the effects is similar in both ones, and that the storyline basically follows the same thing. They are basically as good as each other. It is more fun to watch the second part, even though you are not focusing on some characters. It stands out for being more interesting because of the fights, the death, and everything like that. Siege is breaking down basically. I'm probably going against myself here, but in my opinion the second part stands out for being the better movie. And that's all for today folks. This was a bad video in my opinion, so because I was rambling weird words. So anyway, see you next time. Bye.